Hey, shalom, shalom, shalom. I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Wahara Kadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of great millstone, many blessings and salutations unto the hopeful elect, the house of David, the Bayaf Dawadah, when these epistles are written for these last days. Shalom to the elect. And this is a more prophecy watch, through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Shai. Big happenings are happening in the world. There's a lot of scandals. I'm sure you heard about it, all this stuff, going on. Hey, the Lord said exactly what he was going to do. He was going, show this whore, show the world the whore and how it gets down. Okay, and the Lord is the one that's in control of everything, especially the internet. Okay, so things pop off, and the Heavenly Father has it happen because He's proven a point. I did a lesson on the 250th year of an empire, and the declines are already been showing. Usually before by the 250th year, and I did the lesson, showing the parallels, and it's no different. Okay, stretched too thin, women's rights, the money's funny, the same old, and and also the military is stretched thin. And they need new ranks. They need people to improve the ranks. So they're going to open the draft back up. Okay. And that's the way it goes. Prayers to brothers, okay, who are, in that situation when it happens. And, hey, Yahweh Shema Shai is going to protect all those who are of the elect. Okay. So this is more dealing with the fact that America is being singled out by their so-called partners, and at this point, it's undeniable. Over there in Europe, they feel pretty much naked. They feel like if they make any type of deal with America, it could be seen as idiotic on the world stage. Because America is known not to keep their partner's interest. Okay, only serve theirs, and not to drag it out too long, but you just understand that right now it's not America ain't in a good place right now. Okay, and we love to have it so. All right, so this is from RT News. It says Macron, I believe he's still the president of France, still laments that U.S. is not a reliable partner. This is inconceivable. Only 15 to 20 years ago, this would be inconceivable to put in the press. All right, especially about big bag America. Right, you would never. Okay, especially if you are a highly known president of a major country that's a part of the EU and NATO. Okay, you would never criticize America, but this is a different day. And the Heavenly Father has it to where everybody sees the wine that has been pushed and shoved down their throat by America's policies, worldwide policies. And everyone is suffering and everyone's bickering and fighting each other. Okay, and getting into wars on behalf of America. And a lot of these countries are sick of this shit. Okay, so, and the bankers they're the only winners. Okay. It says the international order is jeopardized by larger global powers, the French president has said. Look at this. It goes right into it, right? Let's read a little bit of the article before we get the script. It says U.S. allies are no longer sure that Washington is a reliable partner. He said that in quotation. It says French President Emmanuel Macron has said, speaking during an informal summit in Athens, which is in Greece, on Friday, alongside the Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis. Macron was asked whether Europe was becoming a bit irrelevant, giving the various conflicts around the globe, including the war against Iran. Yeah. And they're like, damn, because it's not just in Iran. You got the Arab Spring that happened in the 2010s. Okay, you had the Arab Springs over the Arab Spring over there in Egypt. Of course, you had Gaza and the 48ers. Okay, you got Ukraine and Russia, and now you have the Iran war. Okay, the Strait of Hormuz is closed. Okay, and gas prices are going up and all types of stuff. And who's the common denominator here? Okay, the Yemenis war. Okay, with the UAE. Okay, Saudi Arabia, all these countries that are at war or in some type of conflict, they all have one common enemy or one common denominator, I might add, right? America, of course. It says everybody sees that the number one power, the U.S., could be an ally for certain countries, but this ally is not so much certain. And nobody is totally sure if this alliance is reliable, the French president said, arguing that this makes the EU appear as a more stable alternate. So they're trying to separate themselves, man. I remember when I first came into this truth, like a lot of characters who we don't see no more used to argue about the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, that I don't see how all these other countries, or they would basically write it off as irrelevant, right? Especially the 200 million missiles, okay, warheads. They used to argue that shit down. Like they used to be like, man, y'all bugged out, y'all, that's irrelevant, and that's what they would say. Now you can't find them, and they damn sure ain't got nothing to say. Okay, because this prophecy is coming to pass. All right, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shah. It says, continuing, it says, we used to live in an international order, and this international order is jeopardized by two big powers. And you already know who you're talking about. Little Satan and Big Satan. It says the growing divide between European NATO nations and Washington has worsened since the U.S. and the 48ers attacked Iran in late February, with U.S. President Donald Trump repeatedly criticizing bloc members over their reluctance to join the war. Come on now. You know. The prophecy says what it says. And they were going to be separated. Then they're going to be separated from the quote unquote allies and singled out. And the rest of the nation is sick of this bullshit they got to deal with on a constant basis. This is Daniel 2:40. It says, and the fourth kingdom, which is the Roman Empire, and the fourth kingdom shall be as strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these shall it break in pieces and bruise. And he did that during the original Roman Empire on a smaller scale, but now on a global scale, also as the Roman Empire, this time with a new name called America. Or as Revelation describes, Mystery Babylon, the whore that rides the beast. This is that whore. Okay? And what makes it a whore? The way its policies are geared towards money, okay, and relationships built upon slavery of the people that are still in captivity today without chains on. Namely, you so-called Blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. Okay? You are a commodity on a trading stage. Okay? That's what they look at you as. All right? Tradable human commodities. So, with that being said, they're breaking relationships because they're not holding up their end of the bargain. The rest of the countries allowed for their currencies in their respectable countries to all be centered around the U.S. dollar. The U.S. dollar is what circulates all of these currencies in the world. So if anything happens to the dollar, Not only do the dollar goes down, but their currencies as well, because it's all tied to the dollar. All right. It says, and whereas thou sawest the feet and toes part of potter's clay, it says, and part of iron, this kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. Lord has it where the military might is here in Washington, D.C. Okay. The spiritual might is over in Rome. Okay. At the Vatican. And the financial might is over in the UK, London, to be specific. Okay. And they are divided. Okay. Unclean, dirty money. Okay. And they're going around bullying people, all right, for resources and using money that ain't backed by shit to pay them off. This is an unclean, unwell world. Okay. Verse 42, it says, and as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. This is the prophecy. We're reading about what's happening right now. Okay. Now, don't let that lose. Don't get lost on that. Understand what we're living. We're living prophecy that was written thousands of years before we were even considered. Something I learned was 250 years is 10 generations close to. Okay. Give or take. It's about 10 generations. But this book, we've had a full 10 generations here in America. Okay, and this book was written thousands of years before that. So you can challenge the Bible, but you'll lose every time. You can do nothing against the Bible or the truth, but for it. Okay. I'll read that again. Daniel 2:42. It says, and as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, which is, and that also goes back to Genesis. Okay, remember there's three types of men in the earth. Okay, you have the seed of men, you have the sons of God, and then you have the sons of the wicked. And in this case, it's describing the sons of the wicked are mixing themselves within the sons of men, trying to keep the sons of God in captivity. All right. It says, whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay. Okay. I believe this word is Ibatia, right? Ibatia. Reduplicated from an unused root, round thing, meaning to peel or a shred. All right. And miry clay. It says, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. So what you're seeing on a global scale is a pushback against America being the top seat, okay, in the New World Order. Previously, the last 20 to 25 years, you have never saw this. Yeah, there'd be some murmur. It'd be some murmurings. They'll talk a little mess behind America's back, but they were never bold enough to put it on print. Now there's a new world because everybody sees America as a problem, right? And they're really sick of the fact that America is is pushing, bullying everyone and acting like nothing can be done about it. This is literally the scene with Ice Cube and Debo. This is literally what it is. All right. This is Jeremiah 51:7. It says, Babylon have been a golden cup in the Lord Yahweh's hand. It says, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore, the nations are mad, even the allies. They're not happy about the deal because the deal that they had with America to hand over all of their currencies and a lot of their resources was that America could protect them militarily and also trade with them and not stiff them with too much of the tariffs or taxes. Okay? And America, as they do, because they're ran by Edomites, America, as it does, broke trust, broke covenants, and then act like what? You know who you were, you know who you was getting in bed with. Right. Okay. You lay down with dogs and you'd be surprised. Don't be surprised when you wake up with fleas. That's what they say in the world, right? It says, Jeremiah 51:7, it says, Babylon have been a golden cup in the Lord Yahweh's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore, the nations are mad. They are not happy with this deal. And this is causing friction. Okay? It's causing major friction. And these countries, especially those that quote unquote allies, they're starting to speak out a lot more. All right? Let's go to Mark. Because the Lord said they should be part of potter's clay. This is Mark 3:23. It says, and he called them unto him and said unto them in parables, how can Satan cast out Satan? Verse 24, and if a kingdom be divided against itself, the kingdom cannot stand. This is red letter. Let's read that again. Mark 3:24. And if a kingdom be divided against itself, the kingdom cannot stand. And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. And if Satan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand, but hath an end. And we're witnessing that end in real time. We're witnessing the fall of one of the greatest empires to ever know the face of the earth. And I'm not saying that it's a good thing. I mean, in a good way. It is a good thing, but I'm just saying, I'm not saying it's like great. Like, no, great in wickedness. That's what I mean. And we're witnessing the new Egypt. We're literally getting the plagues, just like was said in Egypt. The blood in the water, people, the Americans who were quote unquote in some type of notoriety, celebrities, okay, people in Washington, businessmen that are, big time, getting exposed on a daily. This is what the Lord said he would do. Okay? This is what he said he would do, man. And they look and gaze at us while we're preaching on the corner in the highways and hedges. And they look at us with amazement like, we're doing something wrong. No, open your eyes. You need to see what's happening. This is Nahum 3:1. It says, woe to the bloody city, is all full of lies and robbery. The prey departeth not. That's right. This is a wicked, wicked, wicked place, man. And if your belief is that this place goes on forever, man, you're delusional and you're fooling yourself. This is no different than Egypt. This is no different than Rome. This is no different than Greece. No different than Babylon or the Medo Persians. Okay. Verse 4. Because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcrafts that selleth nations through her whoredoms, and families through her witchcrafts. Using the banking system the way they do is straight witchcraft. They make up numbers out of their ass and they determine the value by that, man. It's not backed by land or anything. They're hoarding the resources and giving you money not backed by shit, man. That is fucking witchcraft. Okay? Behold, I am against thee, saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, and I will discover thy skirts upon thy face, and I will show the nations thy nakedness, and the kingdoms thy shame, man. Isn't the Lord not doing this? Is he not doing this? He's showing the wickedness from the inside. Okay? Just like the prophet saw a beautiful woman from afar, the angel said, don't look at that whore. He said, come, let me show you this hoe, how she get down. It's just like if you meet the finest girl you ever seen in your life and you are just mesmerized by her beauty, but you happen to be a private detective, a private eye, and you follow this whore all day, every day for 2 months. Okay. You get her routines down. You know where she goes to the gym, where she shops at. You see her every day. And one thing you noticed, usually, especially here in America, you follow somebody for long enough, you're going to see what they hide. All the money, all the bodies. You're going to know everything about them. 2 to 3 months. And, yeah. One thing that you're gonna be gathering is that she getting to that money, but she got a bad spending habit, and that vagina has been all over the city, especially here in Atlanta. Okay, I'm not saying every woman, but let's be real. If she's some type of influencer like America, right? That vagina is in the streets, and that's what America represents. That's why we refer to it as the whore. Okay. Verse 6, it says, and I will cast abominable filth upon thee and make thee vile and will set thee as a gazing stock. The Lord is literally doing that right now. You know, you know that adultery is one of those sins that the Lord could destroy you for, but it ain't just gonna destroy you. He got this this invention called the internet. Man, and he created this invention called the internet to show all your secrets, everything from the inside. And he'll put the spirit of pride on you to put your shit out there like ain't nobody can find out. That's how the Lord get down. You want to mess with a power like that? Go right ahead. I'm not going to join that party. Okay? I'm going to fight on his side. Okay? Lord willing. All right? I don't want to write this out. Verse 7, it says, and it shall come to pass that all they that look upon thee shall flee from thee, which is Macron's position. It says, and say, Nineveh is laid waste. Who will bemoan her? Whence shall I seek comforters for thee? Art thou better than Populus? No, that was situate among the rivers, and had the waters round about it, whose rampart was the sea, and her walls was the sea. Oh, and her wall was from the sea. America at the ancient time, Nineveh, but this is America. Description. And the well-favored harlot is being exposed. And now the rest of the nations are like, yo, we got to do something about this whore. They're doing the most. Revelation 17:1. And there came one of the seven angels, which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, come hither. I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, man. Which the waters also represents the peoples. Okay. Verse 2, it says, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. They're all in it. They have human commodities here in America and abroad. Okay. But the most precious cargo, all right, the most concentration of precious cargo is here in America. They all separated the Lord's people, and they have them in captivity to this day, and plan to not ever give them up. But the Lord is in contention with that mindset, because he wants his people to return and worship him. But you're in the way, I guess we're going to have to fight then. It's like the husband that came home. No, matter of fact, let me put it this way. It's just like the husband left his job, all right, to go get his woman who's been a whore gallivanting around the streets of whatever major city, and he has a location. He goes to pick up his woman at another dude's house. This in this case, Esau, America. He going to get his woman so he could take her back home and nourish her back to health after she done been through the ringer, right? But this dude that you pick, that house you went to go get your woman, he over here talking about, nah, it's my woman. And the Lord finna show you what's up. Okay. So the point I'm making here is that all these other countries are now starting to wonder out loud if a situation in partnership with America is a wise thing. And of course, you know our answer, hell no. But they're coming to that realization, and now they're gonna put feet to fire. Okay, just jump down. Revelation 17:16, it says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. What fire are we talking about here? Intercontinental ballistic missiles. Verse 17, for the Most High have put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of the Most High shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over kings of the earth. What other country that you know of that rules over other kingdoms in the earth? I mean, it's America, of course, right? So Emmanuel Macron is only acknowledging the obvious, okay? Back in the article, it says tensions was Tensions were already elevated due to Trump's continued threat to annex Greenland from fellow NATO member Denmark, differing differing visions of for the future of the Ukraine conflict, which or have further widened the transatlantic rift. Since returning to the White House in 2025, Trump has launched a broad diplomatic initiative to end the hostilities and has insisted that European nations take on the full financial and military burden of supporting Kyiv. However, the UK and the EU have consistently, attempted to torpedo the peace talks by injecting proposals which Moscow has condemned as deliberately unacceptable. You understand when we say the Lord is the one that gets the last laugh. Okay? He's the one that gets the last laugh. And he told us to pray and watch. Pray, watch, and fast. And continue to put these works out there so that these devils keep getting cursed out on the record. So with that, I want to give all praises, Lord, honor to Yahweh, Bashem, Shai, Bashem, Wahab, Shalom to the elect.